Trump issued an ultimatum to take down Russia. Under pressure, Putin relented, proposing a concession plan. China also got caught up in Trump's calculations. Now, the US has two paths ahead. It depends on which Trump chooses. According to the Washington Post, August 8th is the deadline Trump set for Putin. Under heavy pressure, Putin finally gave in. The Russian side is now considering implementing an aerial ceasefire, suspending missile and drone strikes on Ukraine. Putin isn't stupid. He's only making concessions on the aerial ceasefire. For ground troops, fighting continues as usual, since the Russian military holds the advantage. However, Trump's sanctions threat isn't just aimed at Russia. He's threatening to sanction all countries that buy Russian oil. China is the biggest buyer of Russian oil, accounting for nearly half of the total, while India comes in second, taking about 40%. Trump has already targeted India, directly raising tariffs from 25% to 50%. Although Indian Prime Minister Modi is putting on a tough front, saying he has to ensure energy security for 1.4 billion people. But getting hit is inevitable. Although Trump hasn't taken action against China yet, Besant has already warned the Chinese side that if they keep buying Russian oil, they'll face a 100% punitive tariff. This time, China is suffering from a disaster it didn't bring on itself. Energy cooperation between China and Russia is normal business. And when Russia-Ukraine conflict started, US even encouraged other countries to buy Russian oil to stabilize global energy market. Now Trump is turning his back and going after these countries. Isn't this a classic case of using someone and then kicking them to the curb? This time, Trump's secondary sanctions are more powerful than directly sanctioning Russia. Last year, Russia made about $108 billion from oil and natural gas. If big customers like China and India are forced to stop buying, Russia's revenue will plummet. Of course, Putin understands this, which is why he's willing to give Trump some face. Trump's move is ruthless, but it's also very risky. If the US really sanctions China, then the China-US trade talks are definitely going to fall apart. At that point, it won't just be China that suffers losses. America will be in trouble too. And if the more than 7 million barrels of oil that Russia exports every day suddenly disappear from the market, global oil prices will skyrocket, and every country will suffer. Neither China nor India is prepared to compromise. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has made it clear that coercion and pressure won't solve the problem, and China will firmly defend its interests. India has pushed back even more directly, saying what the US is doing is unfair and unreasonable. But do you think Trump cares about any of that? He made it clear at the White House that there will be more sanctions to come. This is just the beginning. This time, Trump's strategy is to kill two birds with one stone. He wants to use economic measures to force Putin to stop the war, while also taking the opportunity to suppress China's development. In the short term, this move is actually working. Russia has already started considering making concessions, but in the long run, this approach will only make international relations even more tense. Countries that originally had nothing to do with the Russia-Ukraine conflict are now being dragged into it. Trump is now facing a choice. Either accept some of Russia's concessions, like a ceasefire in the air, or actually implement comprehensive sanctions, including sanctions against China. If he chooses the former, his authority will be called into question. If he chooses the latter, the global economy will suffer as a result. But as things stand, Trump is very likely to accept Russia's proposal for concessions. After all, a ceasefire in the air is still progress. It can at least reduce civilian casualties in Ukraine. Trump is using economic means to solve political problems. While this approach has some effect, the cost is also very high. Putin is forced to make concessions. China faces the threat of sanctions, and the global economy has to bear even more uncertainty. Now, it all depends on how Trump wraps things up. If he imposes secondary tariffs, this game will escalate across the board. If it's all bark and no bite, then it won't be so effective the next time he tries to use the same tactic. But no matter what, this time China has definitely been played by Trump.